Oh, wow. Did you like that? Did you notice anything different? Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Shafer. Welcome to Growing Bolder Now. Yeah, it's the same program formerly known as What's Next, but we got some big plans for that franchise that you'll be hearing about soon. Cannot wait for that to happen. But we thought, why not give this segment a new name, to avoid any confusion, a name that's a little more descriptive, maybe even a little more self-explanatory. So, since we come to you live on Facebook, hey Facebook, YouTube, what's going on YouTube, and even Twitch, you got to check out our Twitch channel. It's really cool, and there's so many interesting things there too. Since we're live on all of those, I'm sorry, when did we say it's on? Now. Oh, so it's Growing Bolder Now, because there's Growing Bolder, the show that, as most of you know, that's seen across most of the country on public television. There's Growing Bolder Radio and podcast, which we get some amazing guests, names that you'll know, and people that you're glad you do. And Growing Bolder Magazine, which you really need to see. And now, right now, it's Growing Bolder Now. So, welcome to Growing Bolder Now. Right now. Okay. Any second now, we're going to be joined by Growing Bolder founder and CEO Marc Middleton, because we're about to meet a fascinating person, a national figure, a guy whose uncle happened to be John F. Kennedy. He's working on a project that, well, it's something that we really need, and it's something that he may be the perfect person to be able to pull off, and this should be good. Well, here comes Marc now to introduce our guest, Timothy Shriver.
If there ever has been a year that has challenged us all to grow bolder, it most definitely has been this past year. It has been a year of fear and frustration and anxiety and loneliness. And unfortunately, as we've also seen in cities all over America, it has been a year of hate. In a word, it's been a year of great division here in America.
It's a great point, Marc. And I think a lot of people out there just don't like it. And I think a lot of us are looking for a way to come back together. And now, just when we need it the most, Timothy Shriver brings us The Call to Unite, Voices of Hope and Awakening. Now, this is an amazing book. He's gathered thoughts and stories from spiritual leaders, poets, singers, writers, former presidents, celebrities, and workers out there on the front line, all of them sharing messages of hope and inspiration, all to remind us that we've got to find a way to come together, because as the pandemic has so painfully reminded us, we are all part of the same community.
Yeah, the globe has gotten very, very small recently. Tim is a best-selling author. He's a film producer. He is a true leader of social change, whose main job over the past few decades has been as the international head of the Special Olympics. And I think, to put it simply, folks, he is one of the good guys. So let's welcome Dr. Timothy Shriver. Tim, how you doing today?
Thanks for having me, Marc, and thanks for the beautiful introduction from both of you. I think, first of all, it's an honor to be with you. We got to talk earlier about the fact that our children know each other independently of any connection with us, and to see a new generation of young people challenging themselves to find the best within each other, crossing boundaries, bringing new patterns and new ideas to the table. It's a story that doesn't get told that often, but you guys are telling the story. And I think, you're right, Bill, the way you put it, this little book we've got here, you can see so many of them behind me. It's not a digital background, it's real books, and they're beautiful. And I hope they're an invitation. They're like a companion to your show in some ways. There are 100 or so people, many of whom the reader doesn't know, but are all coming ready to join you. We're in a tough time. So many of us are feeling a lot of pain and struggle, whether it's from COVID or many of the other challenges, the recent killings, just unbelievably outrageously painful. But sometimes when we get to these moments, Pastor Rick Warren in the book calls it a tsunami of grief. But, Jay Shetty reminds us, even in a tsunami of grief, you can't stop celebrating. Don't diminish the grief. But as T.D. Jakes says, go to the pain. And when we go to each other's pain, we actually find in each other the tender, the compassionate, the strong sense in which we are more at one than we are separate from one another. And that's, I hope, the message of the book. I'm crazy enough to think it's the story emerging in our country right now, but it just doesn't get play. So what gets play is hatred. What gets play is outrage. What gets play is violence. I understand why. But what doesn't get play is another story, and it's one I think we're all hungry for.
And I think we're all frustrated, Tim, over the difficulty in reaching out to everybody in this diverse world in which we live. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about this book, because if it was just any one of the incredible people that you have, it would be easy for a large number of people to ignore it. But you have brought together a really eclectic group of interesting men and women. And I guess we should note that, the book was inspired by the Call to Unite, an event that you organized back in May. You brought together a lot of these same kinds of voices, many of the same people, for a live 24/7 global stream. You raised $85 million to help those who have been impacted by the pandemic. At what point did it occur to you, or did you know at that moment that this would also be very valuable as a book?
Well, when we were planning the call, we had this crazy idea. Let's do a 24-hour live stream. Let's just invite everyone, all different kinds of people. And then we thought to ourselves, well, who's going to put that on? Who's going to host it? How are we going to produce it? Anyway, it all came together. But while we were calling people, I was on the phone with my sister, and my sister Maria Shriver writes the epilogue in this book. She says, this isn't just a show, this is a book. And I was like, Maria, we're trying to put on a 24-hour show. Let's just focus on the show. She says, no, you have to focus. You're doing a show and a book. And I was like, okay, yes, ma'am. We're doing a show and a book. But she was right. When we looked at the transcript after the show, in some ways, the words on the page were even more powerful because we can hold them. A video you have to watch. It's on your phone. Maybe you look at it. But this is your companion. This is your bedside table. This is the handbook for a new story of us and a new story of you, the reader. All of these folks are, like Pastor Rick Warren says in the book, if you're at a bad spot in your life, if you're feeling a lot of pain, and if you are thinking about taking your life, don't. Here's my email. Write to me. We can respond. We're ready. We're here for you. So it's not just an abstract thing. This sense of being united. It's the concrete manifestation of the inner heart that each of us has, reaching out across all these divisions, Republicans and Democrats. Some people say, you have who in the book? And then they might fill in the blank with someone who's a Democrat, who they don't like, or someone who's a Republican, they don't like. And then they read the text and they're like, my God. That's a person who's got something to offer me. Maybe I've misjudged them. Maybe I haven't seen the full person. We're not saying in this book, agree with everybody, but listen to deepen your wisdom and your understanding of everybody. That's the way to advance principles, not hatred and outrage and disgust, which is too often how I think we see the means of changing. If we can just hate people enough, they'll change. Hatred and outrage doesn't work to change people. I think we know that.
Something else that really hits home for me, and I think as a consumer of books or shows, you start thinking that, well, if there's a list of experts or stars, all it is a little paragraph where they endorse it and say, wow, what a great book. But in this case, each person you brought on, we're talking about big thinkers with diverse voices. Each one offers something concrete and interesting, whether it's Eckhart Tolle, Julia Roberts, Bishop Jakes, who, by the way, he kind of, what a great quote from him, where he talks about all the pain that we've been through, especially over the past year, through the pandemic, through the violence and everything. He says, through pain comes a gift. Pain leaves a gift. And I wonder how those quotes hit you, and if you have a favorite quote or contribution from one of the experts.
So, just when you were saying that, I can just feel my body respond. It's like it's a visceral thing. Pain leaves a gift. How many of us run away from pain? Well, of course we do. How many of us right now are in pain? I'm sorry to say, millions and millions of our brothers and sisters in this country and around the world are in pain, facing difficult decisions, uncertain, angry, feeling left out and invisible. It's deep pain. Bishop Jakes teaches in this book Not that pain is a gift, but that it leaves one. And we recover from it as we share it with others, as we look for the deeper wisdom, as we tenderize, if I can say this, our hearts, as we strengthen our conviction that life is good, even in the pain, then pain has left us some enduring gift. This is a man, Bishop Jakes, who was in the midst of this pandemic, funeral after funeral. And this, of course, we know this pandemic ravaged Black and brown communities in a way it didn't in many others. His ministry is in those communities, and so to see not just the pandemic, but to see the pain of centuries of discrimination and inequalities in our country, you just want to go, how do I learn how to do what you do, Bishop Jakes? How do I learn how to do what you do, Amy Grant, who teaches us how to deal with how she manages the great pop singer, the great country crossover singer, Amy Grant, very vulnerably shares her own meditation practice, how she tries to deepen her faith, even when she's feeling lost, out of control, inadequate, struggling, at her wit's end, overwhelmed. Who doesn't feel that way? So many of us feel that way. So, the book, it's just one of those things, Bill, where you go, well, I know about pain. Pain is horrible, right? It is horrible. But Bishop Jakes helps at least me find a way to grow in and through it. And that's a lesson I dare say we all need to learn.
What a powerful voice you have, Tim. Folks, we are speaking with Timothy Shriver, Dr. Timothy Shriver.
Just Tim is fine.
Yeah, well, you know what? You earned it many times over. So let's celebrate it. That's what we're all about. Let me ask you this, and honestly, I think this is more of an observation than it is a question, but you have been chairman of the Special Olympics since, I think, 1996, and let's just say that you came by your desire to make a difference naturally. Your mother is Eunice Kennedy Shriver, the founder of the Special Olympics. Your father is Sergeant Shriver, who founded the Peace Corps. Your uncle, for goodness sakes, is JFK. If your name were Joe Blow and not Timothy Shriver, the work that you have done, Tim, the impact that you have had would still be life-changing for millions. But you have had both the blessing and I'm guessing at the same time the burden of your ancestry. From the outside, it seems like you have not only found a perfect way to not only accept that responsibility and leverage that opportunity, but you've done it in a way that seems to suit you perfectly, a way that's authentic and amazingly self-aware. It's got to be good to be you.
That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. Look, we all have our stories. I grew up, as you point out, by most accounts, you'd say, with enormous privilege, unfair privilege, wealth, political influence, attention, all showered upon me. But maybe the Creator's design also put into that mix repeated, overwhelming grief, loss. As a little kid, confusion. What's going on? Can't understand. Some senses I grew up that to really find the best in me, to find what really matters most in life, was not going to be something I could find from any superficial outcome. It just didn't work. I could just see it. So while the privilege was there, so too was an invitation to something deeper. And I've spent my life, as you point out, around the athletes of Special Olympics. What they are, in my view, one giant community, millions of people around the world saying, unite. People with special needs are so frequently treated as though they're just too different to belong, too different to go to school, too different to go to work, too different to ride the bus. They're just too different to live in my neighborhood. No, it's not true. And my journey has been enormously privileged, primarily in the teachers I've met, and some of them have Down syndrome, some of them have autism, some of them are 15-year-old teenagers in urban America, and they've all tried to teach me one lesson, which is not to be divided from myself and not to be divided from others. And so the fact that I'm privileged enough to put my name on a book that includes so many of these voices, Loretta Claiborne, a Special Olympics athlete's here, and as you say, Eckhart Tolle's here, and Julia Roberts is here, and Daniil Schmal is here, a nurse. The wisdom of the heart comes in all sorts and forms. And I learned that growing up, and I'm very grateful to my parents for teaching it to me. But I think the lesson is for us now more urgent than ever.
It's all because everyone we see, good and bad, they're a reflection of ourselves and who we are. And the bigger the privilege, the bigger the burden to do something big to make a difference. And this is where we really congratulate you and your family, your big sister, Maria Shriver. This is exciting. She's an Emmy and Peabody award-winning journalist that everybody knows, best-selling author as well. But The Call to Unite is the first book published by Maria's new publishing house, which she has founded to publish books that she says that seek to inform, ignite, inspire. And this seems like a great win-win-win for you, Maria.
Maria,
I'm
her first project because I'm next younger than her in our family. So I'm so grateful that we're working together. We sort of best friends for life in some ways, but never really on the same, literally in the same book. On this book, we got to work together. It's her imprint. She has a beautiful epilogue in here about searching for happiness that comes at the end of this book. This beautiful. And just to remind people, this is just an easy book to read. A lot of the sections are just a page long. Here's Richard Rohr, the Franciscan priest, writing about the apocalypse as a parting of the veil, inviting us all to see beyond the appearances. But the selection's only a page long. Sometimes it's just a page or two, and you can pick it up at night and find yourself Elizabeth Gilbert here, just 2 pages. You find yourself in a companionship relationship, as Maria and I, have been friends in some ways for life. In some ways, this is a friend. This is another kind of a friend. Yes, it's a book. Yes, it's just pages and paper. But I hope it's voices that meet us where we are. I think there's something for everyone in here. It's a beautiful book to give as a gift. Maybe people have missed their birthdays or missed a graduation or have Mother's Day coming up instead of, maybe the traditional gift. Maybe remind people that you care about them by giving them a book that will be an accompaniment to them wherever they are in their journey.
You're a good guy, and you're a pretty darn good salesman as well, Tim Shriver.
Thank you.
The Call to Unite, folks, is a powerful plea for respect and unity. It's a perfect example of why diversity is both powerful, why it makes us who we are and gives us the strength that we have. And, Tim, you mentioned growing bolder. We learn every day from the elders, that we profile. We learn about, the importance of hope, the power of belief, the dignity of risk. Can you sum it up? You have had, as you mentioned, a privileged seat, the work that you've done with the Special Olympians, the connection that you've had with this amazing eclectic group of thought leaders. Is there a takeaway to this moment in your life? Is there a broad strokes moral to the story of life that you've learned that you could perhaps share with us?
It's a tough question, Marc. I wish I could. I'm not the soundbite guy sometimes for that kind of really pointed and very important question. I guess if I were going to try, I would say, what the mystics say, we are already one. And right now, I do think in our country and around the world, people are looking for that sense of oneness. They're looking for, isn't there a better way than racism and classism and sexism? Isn't there a better way than losing all the virtue and faith? I mean, both sides have an argument here, in my view. Sometimes you hear our conservative-leaning brothers and sisters saying, "Where's the faith? Where's the values? Where's the virtue? Where's the self-reliance?" I think they're asking good questions, and our brothers and sisters that are more progressive saying, "Where's the equality? Where's the justice? Where's the end of these?" How about if we bring those two ideas together? The best of both. I mean, look, I'm not saying everybody's the same, but I'm saying both have an invitation to us right now to have faith in humanity, have faith in each other, have faith in a higher power, if that's your language and if that's your experience. But at the end of the day, have faith that we can build a future with more justice and joy. It's there, it's emerging, it's in front of us. There are as many voices as you hear telling you no. We're going to give you 100 voices that tell you yes. Yes, we can.
Tim
that's
Shriver,
about as
God bless
inclusive.
you for your voice, for all you do. I feel like we've made a new friend. He is Timothy Shriver, one of the good guys. His latest project has been called A Book of Wisdom to Light Our Way during these dark times. It's called The Call to Unite, Voices of Hope and Awakening. It is that and more, now on sale just about everywhere. His voice, one we're grateful for. Tim, thanks so much.
But that was just outstanding, Marc. An excellent and empowering conversation, the kind that we should all be having every single day, where instead of tearing each other down or drawing that line in the sand, we're reaching out, reaching across to, what did Tim call them, our brothers on the other side. I mean, there's no sides here. We're all the same. We all want what's best for everybody, and we need to understand that people have different perspectives. I mean, it's the kind of conversation that makes you feel that progress is possible instead of digging in our heels and just feeling further apart than ever. Thank goodness for this program to have these types of conversations. I guess coming out of that, the big question is Tim Shriver a lone voice out there? Or is he reaching for something that a lot of us have been feeling for a long time? And all right, that takes us to our meme of the week. And here it is. To be unafraid of the judgment of others is the greatest freedom you can have. And that's from Tim Shriver. And his point is, we are at our best when we discuss things, when we debate things, and then ultimately come to a consensus. We can disagree with the opinions of others, but disrespect and closed-mindedness, well, that results in where we are today. He says we don't have to agree, but we do have to listen to one another. He talked about hatred. Hatred and outrage don't work to change people. Real change comes from real understanding. What great conversation, and a very interesting person to help take us through this, what he's learned from his family, what he's seen in his life, and where we are today. And again, you are the people that are helping spread conversations like this and helping support programs like this, and getting out there and letting people know that there is an alternative, that there is something that's positive and something inspiring and something that makes people think and brings us together instead of pulling us apart. We're thrilled to be on Twitch. It's a really interesting site. So many interesting things happening there. And I think Growing Boulder is going to have a big impact in helping people that are like-minded, people that are forward-thinking and want to come together, do exactly that. And YouTube, of course, is a great place for everything. Facebook, we get a lot of comments from, and I've been watching those during the interview. People like Patricia Bishop from Texas is here. Ayoke Harde, who has been watching this program. Carol Zaza from Ontario, Canada. So when you get on the internet and you express your opinions, and your opinions are of a healing nature, a coming together, it spreads. People are affected by it everywhere. Lynn Goldsmith from Wisconsin as well has commented this morning. Julie Eyster, her name is spelled E-Y-S-T-E-R. Is that like an Easter thing? We could use a little Eyster this weekend, can't we? Really glad that she was here from Colorado as well. So the message, folks, does get across. And the little things that we do in life do make a difference. When we open our minds, open our thoughts to debate, to conversation, but mostly to respect, mostly to understanding that everybody is raised with a slightly different perspective and has a slightly different experience. Marlene Sanchez loved the comment that Tim Shriver made about special needs humans being emissaries. 30 years being schooled by them and serving and living an empowered and in chosen work. So I guess she does work in the special needs community, which is fantastic. Thea Daniels here again. So there are great conversations, folks, that we need to be having And that's what we try to do here with Growing Bolder Now. But like I said, don't forget there are so many different aspects. I think this would be a good point to wrap things up for this week. Very glad you'll be able to join us. But remember, you can share this segment with anyone that you think might enjoy what we do here, what's being said here. And we really want to take this opportunity to have you check out our website, because there is so much more to Growing Bolder. How many sites specialize in hope, inspiration, and possibility with interviews and articles, tools and resources? You can watch our TV show there. You can check out our magazine. You'll really be surprised by how much is there, and that's at growingbolder.com, where you can go to be empowered, to feel better, and to help find a way to move forward. So for Marc Middleton, I'm Bill Shafer. We hope you have a great day and keep growing bolder.